Today's lesson is Lesson 5, Poultry Farms. Have you ever heard the phrase, birds of a feather flock together? When people use this saying, they are usually talking about how people who are alike tend to stick together, much like birds of certain varieties live together in a flock. Birds that are raised as livestock for their meat, eggs, or feathers are called poultry. These birds live in flocks. There are many different kinds of birds that have been domesticated, which means they have adapted from living in the wild to living with people. The most well-known type of poultry in North America is the chicken. Ducks, geese, and turkeys are other popular types of poultry found around the world in the poultry industry. Guinea fowl and pigeons are two other types that are also farmed in some areas of the world. There are two things that all birds have in common. They all have feathers and they lay eggs. Birds that are raised for food production are generally chosen because of their desirable meat or their ability to lay many eggs. Other birds are farmed not only for their meat and eggs, but also for their feathers. Goose down, the soft, warm feathers of geese, are also harvested for use in bedding, jackets, and vests. Although there are hundreds of breeds of poultry around the world, only a few breeds have risen to capture the interest of the commercial poultry farmer. The remaining breeds are more frequently found on small farms or even as pets in city backyards. A day in the life, the making of a chicken farmer. Meet Jerry. He grew up on a farm that was dedicated to grain production, but he always had a few chickens that were his responsibility to tend. While he enjoyed working in the field, he loved the challenge of keeping chickens laying well even in the dark, cold winter. He began to research, and through many different trials, he discovered that if he kept his birds at the right temperature and gave them the right amount of light, his chickens would lay eggs just as well in December as they did in July. Well, it was time for him to graduate. He talked to his parents about adding a chicken barn to the family farming operation. He wanted to try his hand at commercial chicken farming, focusing on egg production. He had a whole plan worked out, with his startup costs, cages, and feeding system all factored in. He proposed that if he used his savings for half of the startup cost and borrowed the other half from his dad, he could pay the loan back. He could pay the loan back within 2 years and still make enough money for it to move out and begin to pay his own bills. With such a thorough plan, his parents said yes and let him run with it. 2 years later, Jerry had doubled his egg production and paid his loan off in full. His parents are very pleased with how his idea worked out. Raising poultry. Originally, chickens, turkeys, ducks, and geese all around the world lived a life of freedom, scavenging for food through the day and roosting in trees or bedding down on the grass at night. In some places today, it is still normal for chickens and other poultry to free range like this. As people began to domesticate these birds, they found ways to encourage them to stay close to home. As people provided food for the birds, it enticed them to stay nearby so the people could find, collect, and enjoy the eggs in a hearty breakfast. Eventually, people began to build special structures that were enclosed to keep the animals safe at night. It also encouraged the birds to lay their eggs in boxes rather than on the ground. This was just the beginning of the modern approach to raising poultry. Farmers today who have a small-scale operation can raise a wide variety of poultry, such as chickens, ducks, geese, and turkeys. They often direct market to their customers, selling colorful eggs and free-range meat. Their customers know how the animals were raised and taken care of, and many people like having that connection to their food source. Geese, ducks, and turkey. Geese are most often farmed on a relatively small scale, with large-scale operations occurring more frequently in Europe than in other places around the world. Geese are farmed for both meat and eggs, and their down is also harvested to provide some of the warmest natural insulation that we know today. Geese are known to be aggressive animals. Many small farms keep a goose or two around to fend off predators from coming after their other, more mild-mannered poultry. Some even call their residents a goose a guard goose. Like geese, ducks are most often raised on a small-scale farm. Ducks do not generally roost at night. They prefer to rest on the ground. These unique birds fail to thrive when they do not have access to water. They are quite charming creatures, however, if given the comfort of a pond to swim on and a grassy yard surrounded to waddle through. Because of this, ducks need a specific type of farm. While some farmers might prefer a chicken coop with neat roosts and laying boxes, others love the adventures of watching their ducks play and frolic around the farmyard. Ducks are generally easygoing and not aggressive like geese. They can be excellent layers and produce good quality meat for the farmer willing to work around their love for water. Turkey farms are often found around Canada and the U.S., as well as across Europe, Brazil, and Mexico. Turkeys are usually raised on pastures that are carefully fenced to keep the animals safe as they grow. Some farms raise turkeys indoors in environments that are more similar to conventional chicken farms. However they are raised, indoors or out, today's turkeys have been bred to put on weight faster than turkeys even 50 or 60 years ago. These birds are more often harvested when they're between 12 and 19 weeks old, depending on what size of turkey is desired. Male turkeys, called toms, can grow to be as large as 42 pounds, while hens are harvested when they are as small as 14. Chickens. Large-scale chicken farms are prolific in many industrial nations around the world. In the United States and Canada, most chickens are farmed in massive quantities in tight quarters. There have been many advances in chicken farming over the decades. These have increased the competitiveness of the industry. Crossbreeding has produced chickens that grow to a marketable weight faster. Advances in understanding nutrition and what is required of a chicken to thrive has increased not only weight gain but also egg production. Hens, female chickens today can produce up to 3 times as many eggs as a hen 100 years ago. The sheer number of birds present on a chicken farm makes it important that chicken farmers control potential disease and other issues that are common to chickens, such as cannibalism and parasitic infections. One way that some chicken farmers deal with these issues is to keep their chickens caged 100% of the time. This is most common in the egg-laying industry. Hens are kept in cages with access to food and water, and when they lay their eggs, they lay roll away from the chickens to keep the eggs clean until the farmer comes to collect them. This stops the chickens from eating their eggs. The cages also discourage aggressiveness between birds, such as pecking or fighting, when there are too many of them together. And I'm going to intercept right here and say that I'm really against chickens in close-quartered egg production. It's very cruel. Chicken farmers who raise the birds for meat do not employ cages, but they do raise their chickens in small, often enclosed areas. Chickens raised on commercial farms are typically vaccinated for various diseases. Antibiotics are commonly used in many chicken facilities, both to fight disease and to increase appetite. Although these practices are banned or strongly discouraged in some countries, roughly 50 or 60 years ago, a chicken needed about 3 to 4 months to reach market weight, eating commercial chicken feed and free-ranging. With today's hybrid chicken breeds that are designed specifically for meat, a broiler, the term for a young meat bird, can reach market weight 5 pounds in as little as 5 weeks. Chicken farms are surrounded with ethical challenges. If you visit your local grocery store, you are likely to be able to find egg cartons that boast cage-free eggs or packages of chicken meat that claim the birds were raised range-free. Many people are willing to pay more for eggs and meat that have been raised this way. What do you think? Well, what I think is that yes, you should buy and support your cage-free eggs, range-free chickens as much as you possibly can, because it's a horrible way they keep chickens in cages with their feet growing to the cage bottom. You probably don't want to raise your chickens that way. Storage and processing. Large commercial poultry farmers generally have contacts with slaughterhouses and egg grading stations. Farmers who raise poultry for meat send their birds to the slaughterhouse where they are further processed and prepared so they can buy them at the store. Some birds are left whole for things like roasting chickens you find in the grocery store, while others are packaged and cut to be put in the meat section of your store. Most large farmers are involved mainly in the raising of the birds, outsourcing all the processing and marketing to the highest bidder. Each step of the process impacts the price of your food. The farmer has to buy equipment, bird, medications, and food, not to mention electricity and other services to keep their birds warm. They have to recoup the cost and make a profit when they sell the birds or eggs to a processing plant. The processing plant has to make a profit when they sell it to the grocery store, and the grocery store needs to make a profit when they sell it to you. When the price goes up in any of these steps, it has to go up at the store as well. That is why prices are constantly changing. Farmers who raise poultry for eggs send their products to a grading station. Here the eggs are washed and candled to see what quality they are. Candling an egg is the process of holding a bright light up to an egg in a dark room. This allowed the experienced egg candler to see if the yolk is centered and if it's in perfect egg or not. Candling is also used to observe the process of development when an egg is incubated in the process reproduction. Perfect eggs are packaged in cartons to be delivered to the store for sale. Eggs that are not perfect are sent to be cracked by a machine. Some are separated as yolks and whites, while others are left whole. These eggs are pasteurized and processed into packaged eggs or used as ingredients in other products. They might be sold as dry, liquid, or frozen eggs or sent to be used in products like mayonnaise or personal products. To the table. Once the products of the poultry industry are processed, they must be kept chilled or frozen at all times so bacteria doesn't grow. Fresh chicken is available in the meat section of most your grocery stores. Other cuts or larger qualities of poultry are found in the freezer section. Some meats that are associated with special holidays are sold at specific times of the years. Turkeys are found in North America stores during Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter. In Europe, goose is a common Christmas meat found in stores around the holiday season. If you have local farms in your region, you might be able to find locally grown meat and eggs that are free-range or antibiotic-free. Buying supplies in bulk is often cheaper in the long run, and many large companies pass these savings on to the consumer. This means that sometimes smaller farms, which may pay more for supplies, need to charge a bit more for their meat and eggs in order to make a profit. Poultry farming isn't quite as simple as it might seem. From controversies to farming methods to pricing, everything must be carefully planned and thought through when the farmer decides to get started in this market. What do you think? Is poultry a staple food in your family diet? If so, what type of poultry do you eat? Are these types you've never had but would like to try? A hands-on activity would be try candling eggs. Compare store-bought eggs and fresh farm eggs to see the difference in the yolk placement. The yolk will appear as a faint, dark shadow. And that concludes Lesson 5 for today.